What is going on, guys? Before I get into this recap, wanted to take a minute to talk about Vontae Davis, who unfortunately we lost yesterday. Obviously, you guys know I'm a Colts fan. You see, the number on my channel has never changed since I started. So if you don't believe that I have a reverence in my heart for any player that wears the number 21 and plays for the Colts, then you are sadly mistaken. And Vontae Davis was one of the premier corners in the NFL for a number of years. I remember watching Hard Knocks, which is what many people remember when Vontae was traded to the Colts. I remember I couldn't believe that I could see such a key piece of our defense be traded kind of live and recorded that way. And I remember really feeling genuine emotion for Vontae just wanting to contact his family at the news of being traded. Of course, Vontae would come over and be an elite corner, be a critical piece of countless wins. His brother Vernon was also, a great tight end as well, and I'm certain that his family misses him dearly. But as a Colts fan, it's very difficult to see someone at his age, for whatever reason, lose his life. And unfortunately, we see this far too often where, players that we look up to, players we admire just for the athletic accomplishments, often end up in a position where they leave this world way too soon. And I could not help but think about Vontae most of the morning, most of last night when I heard the news. And certainly sad that someone who brought me and my family so much joy is no longer here to bring his family so much joy. So, with that tough transition, the reason this breakdown of the game is up a little later than normal is I was extremely fortunate and blessed to be able to go to the game last night. Now, the forecast was generally poor for the next 3 days here, so I wanted to put a premium on getting to the game last night. A huge fan of Craig Kimbrell, so it was very important that I get to see him pitch. Thankfully, this was the game he made his Orioles debut in. And honestly, Dean Kramer looked fair during this game. He did give up some hits, he did give up some runs. We had to be dependent on, Yanir Cano coming in to kind of save things. You had some issues with the ball being wet on both sides. At the start of the game, Ramon Urias kind of got caught off guard by a line drive. Later in the game, you had Gunnar Henderson kind of fail to throw to first. We also had on the opposite side, former friend Adam Frazier back in the building. Adam, though, was actually pinch hit for at a critical moment in the game, I believe, with the bases loaded. And for some reason, he was, you would think, be in a position to have kind of this revenge game. Not that there's any animosity. We cheered Adam when he came out. But at the same time, I think you always kind of want to stick it back to your former team. So I think it would have been nice if Adam had been given that opportunity. Unfortunately, he wasn't. It ended in a strikeout where Yanir just really needed to take control of the situation and did, obviously putting himself back as the premier closer for the Orioles. We then obviously get into a situation where you have some base hits coming out with Cedric Mullins. We go into the end of the game. Craig Kimbrell is trying to close, and he runs into a position where you have Austin Hayes, Ramon Urias, and Gunnar Henderson, all trying to run a ball down that was clearly Austin Hayes' ball. He should have called it, he should have ran forward, and he didn't. And perhaps he did, and it wasn't loud enough for other players to hear. I don't know. But you go back and you watch this play, and you can absolutely 100% see beyond the shadow of a doubt that Austin Hayes is looking at what by many would say the franchise player, Gunnar Henderson, if it's not Adley Rutschman, is running with his head turned the other direction aimlessly toward him. And you just get the feeling that Austin was like, you know what? I have to bail out. I'm not going to have a collision here that hurts me, hurts him, and hurts this franchise. Gunnar then tries to bare hand this ball in the air for some reason when players have had problems catching the ball with their glove. He misses the ball by feet. Austin then picks it up, but at that point, the damage had been done. We then get into a situation where there's a tie game, and Jordan Westberg, who has not been hitting all that well, has not been extremely productive, has been, I would say, average, but, his expectations coming into Camden Yards, just to give you a little inside baseball, if you will, when Adley Rutschman started, they, procured dirt from the field to sell as Adley's first start game dirt. When Jordan Westberg started, they did the same thing. And I think even if you're a casual fan of baseball, you're not putting Westberg and Rutschman in the same line of thought when it comes to being elite players. But this was the chance that he had to step up, and he most certainly did step up. He hit a barely there, but still home run. However, it doesn't matter. As long as it goes over the wall, be it by 100 foot and hits the warehouse like Ken Griffey, be it by 1 foot and just kind of barely clears as it did last night, it is still a walk-off home run. It was the first walk-off home run I've ever been a part of. There obviously, with the weather, was not many people there. It was cold, it was raining, it was generally miserable, but I can still tell you that crowd absolutely popped. Not when the ball got hit, because we kind of had a collective gasp of, is that enough to make it out? But it barely did. It ended the game, and everyone, at least from the Orioles' perspective, went home happy. I did, just as a point of reference, be able to put myself in a position to get the ball that the aforementioned play happened where Gunnar tried to field the ball and could not. So thankfully, I've donated a good bit of money to the Orioles over the years, and it does have its rewards in terms of being able to specifically ask very nicely, please and thank you, if I can get select items from the authenticator. So a pretty cool piece of Orioles history sitting on my mantle while I record this. I will look forward to the game tonight where they will have their second game against the Royals, although I would not be surprised if either one of these games does get rained out. I appreciate you watching this. I will be back as soon as I can with more commentary.